Are you ready for haunted legends told by firelight? What waits below, and what's been waiting for you to look back? If so, grab a drink, grab your blanket, and have a seat at the fire. You're just in time. Welcome to Static and Embers. They say if you drive across Lanier Bridge at night, don't look in your rearview mirror, because sometimes, just sometimes, you'll see her. A woman soaking wet, wearing a blue dress, sitting quietly in your back seat. Lake Lanier is one of the most famous lakes in Georgia, but not for the reasons you'd think. It's not just about boating accidents or drownings. People swear the lake is haunted, and one of the most famous spirits there is the Lady of the Lake. The story starts back in 1958, late at night. Two women were driving over Lanier Bridge when their car veered off the side. It crashed straight into the dark water below. For months, search crews dragged the lake. They found pieces of the car. They found one of the women's bodies, but the other woman, she vanished. No one could explain it. No body, no clues. It was like the lake just kept her. And then the sightings started. People began reporting something terrifying. A woman soaking wet, wandering the sides of the bridge at night. She's always wearing the same thing, a blue dress. Sometimes she's seen staring blankly into the water. Other times she's in the road, causing drivers to swerve only to vanish the second someone blinks. But the worst is when she appears in your car. Several drivers have claimed they picked up a woman hitchhiking near Lanier Bridge. She gets in, doesn't say a word. They describe the same thing every time. Dripping wet, shivering, a blue dress. Then they glance back at her seat, and she's just gone. For decades, people whispered about the Lady of the Lake, and then something even stranger happened. In 1990, 32 years after the accident, a construction crew was working near the bridge. They discovered something tangled in the rocks below, a human skeleton, still wearing remnants of a blue dress. Dental records later confirmed it was the missing woman from 1958, but here's the part no one can explain. The sightings never stopped. Even after her body was recovered, people still report seeing her on foggy nights, a shadowy figure in blue staring at the lake, or worse, sitting quietly in the back seat of someone's car with ice-cold water dripping down their neck. So if you ever find yourself crossing Lanier Bridge after dark, think twice before checking your rearview mirror, because sometimes it's not your reflection looking back. Imagine this. You're swimming in a lake and suddenly your foot brushes against something. It feels like stone steps. You dive down thinking it's just debris, but what you find is the roof of a house. Because beneath Lake Lanier, there's an entire town still sitting down there. Lake Lanier isn't just haunted because of ghost stories. It's haunted because of what's underneath it. Before the lake existed, there were small towns scattered across that land. Places called Oscarville, Lanier, and Forsyth County farmland. Communities with homes, churches, businesses, and hundreds of graves. In the 1950s, the government decided they needed a man-made lake, so they forced people out. They flooded entire towns, and when the water came in, it didn't wash everything away. They didn't tear down all the buildings. They didn't move all the cemeteries. In fact, most of it is still down there. Divers who go deep into Lake Lanier have reported terrifying sights. Gravestones sticking out of the silt, collapsed barns, even church steeples sitting eerily silent in the black water. Old roads with yellow lines still perfectly visible. Some divers say they've gotten tangled in old fishing lines, but others say it wasn't fishing line at all. They describe it like cold, skeletal hands grabbing their ankles, pulling them deeper. One professional diver said it's the creepiest place he's ever worked. He found himself swimming face first into old structures he didn't know were there. Windows, staircases, rooftops, perfectly preserved in the cold, murky dark. And sometimes there are the coffins. Local fishermen have reported finding caskets floating up to the surface after heavy rains, bones washing onto the shore after floods, because they didn't flood just the towns, they flooded graveyards. So the next time someone tells you Lake Lanier is cursed, remember, it's not just about the accidents or ghosts, it's about entire communities trapped below the water, still waiting to be found. They flooded entire towns, but some things refuse to stay buried. There's a reason Lake Lanier is called the most dangerous lake in America. Not because of sharks, not because of boats, because people keep dying there in ways no one can explain, and some believe the lake is cursed. Over the years, more than 700 people have died in Lake Lanier, and it's not just boating accidents or drinking gone wrong. People vanish under calm, clear water. Bodies sink and disappear, only to surface weeks later, miles away from where they drowned. Sometimes they're never found at all. Locals will tell you there's something wrong with the water. Rescue divers have come back shaken, saying they've been grabbed by unseen hands, pulling them toward the bottom. Some say it feels like the lake doesn't want to give you back. And it's not just the drownings. Boaters report sudden patches of icy water even in the middle of summer. Jet skis cut out for no reason right above the deepest parts of the lake. Some people say they've heard screams coming from the water. Others say they have seen faces beneath the surface, staring up at them, mouths moving silently. But here's where it gets darker. Some believe Lake Lanier is cursed because of what's buried underneath it. In the 1950s, when the Army Corps of Engineers flooded the land to create the lake, they didn't just drown towns. They drowned history. Oscarville, Georgia, one of the towns beneath the lake, was the site of a brutal racial cleansing in 1912. Entire black communities were forced to flee after lynchings and violence. Their churches and graveyards were eventually covered by water. Many locals believe the spirits of the wrongfully buried and the violently displaced are still angry, that the lake has become a place of restless souls, and that's why so many people get dragged under. Even now, there are stretches of Lake Lanier that people refuse to swim in because they say once the water grabs you, it doesn't like to let go. So if you ever visit Lake Lanier, remember, it's not just a lake, it's a graveyard, and sometimes the dead don't stay quiet. You hear about people going missing in the woods, but the ones who come back, sometimes their stories are worse. There's this one account I heard about, a hiker in North Georgia, someone who went camping alone in the Cohutta Wilderness, just north of Lake Lanier. And what happened to him stuck with me. This guy had been hiking solo for years. He wasn't new to the woods. He knew how to handle predators, how to stay calm, how to trust his instincts. But this time, something was off. He was doing a 3-night trip deep in the backcountry. No cell service, no other campers. That's exactly why he chose it. The first 2 days were normal, perfect even. But the third night changed everything. At around 2 a.m., he woke up to the sound of his own voice calling his name from outside his tent. That's not a campfire story exaggeration. He said it sounded exactly like him. Same tone, same cadence, whispering his name just outside the fabric wall. And then, footsteps, heavy ones, barefoot, pacing in slow circles around the tent. He didn't move, didn't unzip it, and the thing is, he wasn't just afraid of what was out there. He was afraid that if he opened the tent, he wouldn't see anything at all. Eventually, the footsteps stopped, but he never heard whatever it was walk away. At first light, he packed up fast, didn't even eat, just grabbed his gear and left. And that's when the real nightmare started. For the next 6 miles, he kept seeing something just outside his line of sight, movement behind trees, glimpses of something pacing him, matching his steps. It wasn't chasing him. It was walking him out of the woods. The weird part, he said he wasn't terrified. It was like whatever it was, it didn't want to hurt him. It just wanted him gone. When he finally reached his car at the trailhead, he looked back one last time, and standing there, right at the tree line, was something watching him. It wasn't a bear, it wasn't a person. It looked like him, but it wasn't smiling, wasn't waving. It was just watching him leave. He never went back, and he doesn't camp alone anymore. After I first heard this story, I started digging, and I found out this isn't a one-time thing. A retired search and rescue worker, someone who used to handle missing person cases in the Blue Ridge region, said they've seen it too. People don't always vanish without a trace. Sometimes they come back, but something's different. Families will pick them up and say things like, "That's not him anymore." And they won't mean it literally, not like a clone, not like a cryptic copy. It's worse than that. They forget little details about their own lives. They stop using nicknames, and sometimes they'll go totally quiet about what happened out there, like the forest took a piece of them and left something else behind. Here's the part that really got me. When search teams find footprints, it's not always just one set. Sometimes there are 2. Both sets match the missing person. Same boot size, same stride, except one set is barefoot. The prints follow each other for miles side by side, and then one set just stops right there in the middle of the woods, like the forest picked one version to stay and one to leave. If you ever get that feeling out there that something's just out of sight pacing you, don't look back. Just keep walking, because sometimes the woods aren't trying to kill you. They're just deciding which you to keep. If you're ever hiking near Ellijay, Georgia, and you see blue flames flickering through the cracks of an old boarded-up church, don't go near it. That's not kids messing around. That's not campfire reflection. That's something older than you still burning. Locals call it the Blue Lantern Church, but most folks won't even say the name out loud. It's not on any trail maps, but hikers stumble on it sometimes, usually by accident. It's an old wooden church, half rotted, with warped boards nailed over the windows, like someone tried to keep something inside. But some nights, especially when the fog rolls in, people see blue flames flickering through the cracks. Not orange, not yellow, blue. And here's the strange part. The flames don't throw normal shadows, and they don't go out when the wind blows. A hiker named Eric posted about it a few years ago in a North Georgia trail forum. Said he and his girlfriend were camping near Bear Creek Trail when they saw blue lights moving down the ridge. At first, they thought it was a search party or maybe lanterns from another campsite. But as they got closer, they realized the lights were coming from inside an abandoned church, one that wasn't supposed to be there. Eric swore he saw shadows pacing behind the windows, like people walking back and forth, but there were no cars at the trailhead, no footprints in the mud. He tried to peek through one of the cracks between the boards. That's when he heard it, a voice from inside the church whispering his name. His girlfriend didn't hear anything, but Eric stood there frozen, eyes wide. They left immediately, packed up their campsite in the dark, headlamps shaking. A few days later, Eric posted an update. He said he'd done some digging and found a name, the Forgotten Mountain Sect. Back in the 1800s, a preacher named Ellijay Mercer led a breakaway group into the North Georgia mountains. He taught that the soul is a blue flame trapped in flesh, and that it could be set free if you burned away the body in the right ritual. His group vanished from public record in 1891. Some people think they died out. Others believe They found a way to become the light itself. Eric's post ended with one sentence. I don't know what I saw in that church, but sometimes when I close my eyes at night, I still see the blue light. They don't care if you believe in them. They only care that you saw the light. And now that you have, it's already too late. Some places are haunted by ghosts. Others are haunted by things we don't have words for yet. In the mountains near Ellijay, Georgia, there's an old church where the flames still burn, but they're not the color they're supposed to be. And the worst part, they never go out. A few years ago, a solo hiker named Melissa Grant got caught in the fog while hiking near Bear Creek Trail in North Georgia. She was trying to find her way back to the trailhead when she stumbled onto something strange. An abandoned church deep in the woods, old boards nailed over the windows, no signs of life, except for one thing. Through the cracks in the walls, she saw blue flames flickering inside. Not orange, not yellow, blue. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light, but when she got closer, she realized something worse. The flames weren't sitting in lanterns. They weren't burning wood. They were hovering, floating in the air like they were alive. Then she heard it from inside the church, the sound of wood scraping across the floor, like someone was dragging something heavy, slowly, inch by inch, toward the door. Melissa ran, didn't stop until she made it all the way back to her car. But when she got home, she found something she couldn't explain. A 4-second video on her phone she didn't remember recording. The screen was black, like the phone had been in her pocket, but the audio was clear. A voice right next to Mike whispering, "The flames don't go out." She also picked up something else that night, a strange AM radio transmission that her phone kept glitching into while she tried to sleep. It looped the same distorted sentence over and over. "We are the lanterns now. We are the lanterns now." Some people believe the church is haunted. Others think it's something older, a forgotten mountain sect that found a way to burn without dying. And sometimes, if you're quiet enough, you'll see them. Blue flames still flickering in the windows long after the world should have gone dark. Some flames burn wood. These flames burn people. And the worst part, they're still burning. In North Georgia, there's a church hidden in the mountains where blue flames still flicker in the windows. But some nights, the lights don't stay in the church. They come looking for you. A search party went looking for a missing hiker near Bear Creek Trail last October. They never found him, but one of the volunteers, Caleb Myers, posted something afterward that didn't get much attention outside of the local forums. He said they'd been combing the woods around midnight when they saw blue lanterns moving between the trees. At first, they thought it was the other team, but their radios were dead silent. No one else was near that sector. Caleb said the lights were about the size of lantern flames, but hovering 2 or 3 feet off the ground, swaying like they were being carried. The search party tried to follow them, but the trail started looping back on itself. Every time they thought they were getting close, they'd end up back where they started. Caleb swears he saw figures holding the flames, pale outlines of people walking in total silence, no footsteps, no breath, just the flicker of blue light moving through the fog. Here's where it gets even stranger. That night, Caleb checked his GPS tracker when he got home. It said he'd walked 12 miles in perfect circles over and over, like something was keeping him there. Locals say the lantern walkers are what's left of the forgotten mountain sect. They don't need the church anymore. They don't need bodies. They're just flickers of light now, wandering the woods, looking for someone else to carry the flame. Some people get lost in the woods, others get collected, and when that happens, the flames get brighter. They're still walking. The forgotten mountain sect had one goal: not to die, not to live forever, but to become the light. A few months ago, 2 hikers found something strange near the Blue Lantern Church. It was an old leather-bound journal, half burned, pages stuck together with soot. They turned it into local police, but not before reading the last few entries. It was a ritual record. The last page said, "The door is open now. The flesh has fallen away. We are lanterns." Since then, hikers have reported something new. It's not just the blue flames in the church. It's not just the lanterns walking the trails. People have started hearing their own voices calling out from the woods, like echoes. But they're not echoes, they're invitations. Come inside, join the flame. It's your turn to carry the light. There's a belief among locals that if you listen long enough, if you let the flame get close, it copies you. And once it knows your name, once it knows your voice, you're part of the ritual. You'll vanish from this world. No screams, no body, no trace. Just another blue flame flickering through the cracks of that boarded up church. The blue lanterns don't haunt, they replace. They leave empty space where people used to be, and a flame that never goes out. Click here to keep going and make sure you're subscribed. There's more waiting. New stories every night, and every Sunday we gather around the fire again. Until next time, stay close to the fire, and if you hear something just beyond the edge of the light, know you didn't. Thanks for tuning in.